This isn't a summer shower. This isn't a storm you watch from your window with a warm cup of coffee. This is the Amazon. A place so alive, so dense, so brutally unrelenting that scientists still haven't named every creature living inside it. Think about that for a second. We have mapped the surface of Mars. We have photographed black holes 55 million light years away. We have sent a spacecraft beyond our solar system. And yet, right here, on our own planet, there are species, entire species, that no human being has ever laid eyes on. Whatever is watching from those dark waters right now, it was here long before we were. It will be here long after we are gone. You are going to watch a jaguar, the most powerful predator in the Western Hemisphere, stalk its prey through a flooded river at midnight, and you're going to understand, for the first time, why it never makes a sound. You will meet a frog the size of your thumbnail. It cannot bite you. It has no claws. It has no shell. And yet, it is one of the most dangerous creatures on Earth. You will see trees that breathe. A river so large, it creates its own weather. Ancient cities buried beneath the jungle floor that were built by people who understood sustainable farming in ways that make our modern agriculture look primitive. You will witness a butterfly whose wings are not colored with pigment, but with physics itself. And you will understand, by the end of this video, why the Amazon is not just a rainforest. It is the breathing mechanism of the entire planet. Lose it, and we lose everything. Here is a number that should stop you cold. The Amazon produces 20% of the world's oxygen. Every fifth breath you take, right now, watching this, living your life, came from this forest. That is not a metaphor. That is biology. There are more species of fish beneath the Amazon River than in the entire Atlantic Ocean. There are more species of birds here than on any other continent. There are trees in this forest that have been standing since before the Roman Empire existed. And right now, as you watch this video, the chainsaws are running. We are not here to lecture you. We are not here to make you feel guilty. We are here because before you can care about something, before you can fight for something, you have to fall in love with it first. Imagine the most powerful machine ever built. Not a jet engine, not a nuclear reactor, not any machine that human hands have ever assembled. Imagine a machine that runs entirely on sunlight and rain. A machine that captures carbon from the air, converts it into wood and leaf and root, and exhales the oxygen that keeps 7 billion people alive. A machine that never turns off, never breaks down, never stops producing. That machine is this forest. The Amazon rainforest covers over 2 million square miles. To put that in perspective, it is larger than the entire continental United States. It spans 9 countries. Its river system drains nearly a fifth of all the fresh water on Earth. It shelters 1 in every 10 species known to science. 10% of all life on this planet lives right here. And here is the most extraordinary part. The Amazon does not just live in a climate, it creates one. The trees here release so much water vapor that they generate what scientists call flying rivers, enormous streams of moisture that travel thousands of miles through the atmosphere, dropping rain on cities and farms across South America. Cities that would be deserts without it. Every leaf is a solar panel. Every root is a lung. Every raindrop that falls on this canopy will rise again, evaporated, carried by wind, and rain down somewhere else on Earth. The Amazon is not just a part of our planet's ecosystem. It is the ecosystem. You know what the most common mistake people make about predators? They think power looks like a lion charging across an open plain, loud, visible, dramatic. Here in the Amazon, power looks like nothing at all. Power is invisible. Power is patient. Power is the thing that was watching you for 20 minutes before you even knew it was there. The Jaguar, the undisputed king of the Amazon floor. This animal is not the biggest cat on Earth. The lion and tiger are larger. But here, in this environment, those animals would not survive a week, because the Jaguar is not built for open ground. It is built for this: dense vegetation, flooded banks, tangled roots, zero light. Its coat is not just beautiful. Those rosette patterns break up its outline in dappled jungle light, making it functionally invisible from more than 10 feet away. Its jaw, the most powerful of any big cat relative to its size. It doesn't kill with a throat bite like a lion. It drives its teeth directly through the skull of its prey. One bite, done. And unlike almost every other big cat on Earth, it loves the water. It swims, it hunts in rivers, it crosses flooded channels that would stop most other predators cold. Caimans, the armored crocodilians of the Amazon, even they are on the Jaguar's menu. A single jaguar's territory can stretch for dozens of miles. It marks every boundary, not with noise, not with displays, but with silence. Claw marks on trees, scent posts only other jaguars understand. It travels like a ghost. Its only announcement is the absence of sound. Now look up, because the jaguar owns the ground, but the harpy eagle owns everything above it. This bird is not what most people picture when they think of an eagle. It is not sleek and streamlined like a peregrine falcon. It is enormous, heavy. It has a face that looks designed for intimidation, a feathered crown, pale eyes, and an expression of permanent focused intensity. And its talons are the size of a grizzly bear's claws. Let that sink in. A bird with bear-sized claws. The harpy eagle does not circle in open sky waiting for prey. The canopy is too dense for that. Instead, it launches from a high branch and threads through the trees at speed, wings tucking and adjusting like a fighter jet through an obstacle course. Its targets, monkeys, sloths, sometimes animals weighing close to its own body weight, snatched directly from branches in mid-motion. Its nest is not a temporary structure. Harpy eagles return to the same nest for decades. Some nests have been in use for over a century, passed from generation to generation, added to, enlarged, embedded into the very architecture of the tree. This is not just a predator, this is a dynasty. If the Amazon rainforest is the body of this world, then the Amazon River is its heart. And nothing, absolutely nothing, prepares you for the scale of it. The Amazon River is the second longest river on Earth, but in terms of volume, the sheer amount of water it moves, it is not second to anything. It is first by a margin that makes comparison almost meaningless. Every single second, the Amazon releases more than 29,000 cubic meters of fresh water into the Atlantic Ocean. That is more water than the next 7 largest rivers on Earth, combined. At its widest point during flood season, the Amazon is not a river. It is an inland sea. It stretches for 30 miles across. The far bank disappears. There is no horizon, just water and sky. The river was not always here, flowing east. 65 million years ago, before the Andes Mountains existed, this river ran in the opposite direction toward the Pacific. When the Andes rose from tectonic pressure, they blocked that western flow and redirected the entire system east toward the Atlantic. What had been an ancient inland sea slowly drained and became this forest. The fossils buried deep in the Amazon basin still carry the memory of that vanished ocean. Marine shells, coral, the bones of ancient sea creatures locked in the earth where trees now grow, beneath the surface. And under that water, more fish species than exist in the entire Atlantic Ocean. More than 3,000 species of freshwater fish have been identified in the Amazon. Scientists believe there may be 1,000 more still undiscovered. There are fish here that use electricity to navigate and communicate. Fish that can survive out of water for months, breathing air through a modified swim bladder. Fish that hunt by leaping from the water to snatch insects off overhanging branches. The Amazon River is not just a river. It is the largest, most complex freshwater ecosystem that has ever existed on this planet. Now, take a breath, because not everything in the Amazon is a chase. Some creatures have made a different bet. Instead of being faster than the predator, they chose to be invisible to it. The sloth has made this bet more completely than any other animal alive. It moves so slowly, so radically, purposefully, slowly, that its metabolism has slowed to match. Its body temperature fluctuates with the air around it like a reptile. Its muscles generate so little heat that it cannot shiver. And yet, the sloth is not failing at life. It is succeeding at a version of life that most animals cannot access. Here is the extraordinary part. The sloth's fur is actually green, not because of pigment, but because algae grows in it. A tiny living garden covers its back, tinting it the color of the canopy it lives in. Inside that fur, moths. Actual moths that live their entire lives inside the sloth's coat. When the sloth descends to the forest floor, which it does only once a week to defecate, the moths lay their eggs in the droppings. The sloth carries an entire ecosystem on its body. A micro-world of insects, algae, and fungi, all cycling nutrients and camouflaging the sloth at the same time. The forest does not waste anything. Even stillness serves a purpose. And speaking of purpose, that weekly descent, the sloth's droppings fertilize the roots of the exact same tree it lives in. Every week, the waste becomes nutrients. The nutrients become leaves. The leaves become the sloth's food, a perfect closed loop. In a forest, this complex, even going to the bathroom, is an act of ecological engineering. You're about to hear something that your brain will not immediately process as coming from a living creature. This sound, low, rumbling, like a lion filtered through a cathedral organ, travels nearly 3 miles through dense jungle. It comes from the howler monkey, not the biggest primate in the Amazon, not the strongest, but the loudest land animal on Earth relative to body size. The howler monkey has a hollow bone in its throat called the hyoid, a natural amplifier built by evolution over millions of years. When air passes through it, the result is that sound, that trembling, territory-marking, forest-filling roar. Territory here is not claimed with strength, it is claimed with sound. The group that has the biggest voice wins the tree. This is the Amazon's first language, and every creature here has learned to speak it or listen to it. The toucan, that impossible-looking bird with the enormous, colorful bill, uses its voice to announce its presence at fruiting trees. Its bill, which looks like pure decoration, is actually a precision thermal regulator, pumping blood through it to cool the animal in afternoon heat. The bill is also hollow and lightweight, letting the toucan reach fruit that no other bird can access. Every berry it swallows and drops somewhere new becomes a new tree. Beauty in the Amazon always serves a second purpose. Always. Here is a rule of the Amazon that took scientists decades to understand. Color is never decoration. In the world you live in, colors are chosen. You pick a shirt, you paint a wall. Color is aesthetic. Here, color is language, and reading it wrong will kill you. The poison dart frog. Look at this frog. It weighs less than a paperclip. It has no claws, no teeth, no shell. Any snake in this forest is 10 times its size, and it sits here in broad daylight, in full view, advertising its presence to every predator in the vicinity, because it wants to be seen. That blue skin is a warning label. It is the animal kingdom's equivalent of a skull and crossbones. The poison dart frog carries enough toxin in its skin to kill 10 adult humans. It does not manufacture this toxin. It absorbs it from the toxic insects it eats, concentrating and storing the alkaloids in its skin. A frog raised in captivity, fed a clean diet, loses its toxicity entirely. The venom is borrowed from the ecosystem. The frog is just the carrier. Indigenous hunters understood this chemistry thousands of years before we did. They used the frog secretions on their blowgun darts, borrowing the forest's chemistry to feed their families. And then there's this. The blue morpho butterfly's wings are not blue. I know what you're seeing. But that blue is not pigment. There's no blue dye in those wings. Those wings are made of microscopic scales, arranged at precisely calculated angles that bend and scatter light in a way that our eyes perceive as brilliant metallic blue. It is physics masquerading as color. Structural optics evolved over millions of years to produce an effect so striking that predators actually hesitate, momentarily confused by the flash, the disappearance, the reappearance. Open, a burst of blue fire. Closed, invisible. A living light switch, built entirely by evolution, fueled by physics. We have talked about the jaguar, the harpy eagle. Now let's talk about who actually runs this forest, because it is not any of them. It is the ants. Leafcutter. Ants. This column of leafcutter ants stretching across the forest floor is not just busy. It is running one of the most sophisticated agricultural operations on Earth. Each ant is carrying a piece of leaf several times its own body weight. They do not eat these leaves. The leaves are raw material, fertilizer for a fungal garden they maintain in underground chambers far below. These ants are farmers. They have been farming the same crop, the same species of fungus, for 50 million years. They have never switched crops. They have never had a crop failure. Their farms have specialized workers. Some cut, some carry, some clean. Some spend their entire lives doing nothing but removing mold spores from the garden. The colony also carries on its own bodies bacteria that produce natural antibiotics, protecting the fungus from infection. Humans discovered penicillin in 1928. Leafcutter ants have been using antibiotics for 50 million years. A single colony can remove 12 tons of vegetation in a year. 12 tons. moving the forest piece by piece into their underground world and recycling it back into life. And then there is the bullet ant. Same family, very different philosophy. The bullet ant is named for what it feels like to be stung by one, not a bee sting, not a wasp. Something that has been described by the Schmidt Pain Index, the scientific scale for insect sting pain, as pure, intense, brilliant pain, like walking over flaming charcoal with a 3-inch nail embedded in your heel for 24 hours. Tribes in the Amazon have used bullet ant stings in initiation ceremonies for generations. Young warriors wear gloves packed with the ants, hundreds of stings simultaneously, to prove they can handle it. The forest uses pain as currency here, and some of the smallest creatures carry the largest bills. 500 pounds, nearly 30 feet long, the heaviest snake that has ever existed on Earth. The green anaconda. It does not chase, it does not sprint, it does not rely on venom. It waits. Eyes and nostrils sit high on its head, barely above the waterline, while its 8-meter body lies invisible in the murk below. It can hold this position for hours, for days. When a caiman drifts too close or a capybara comes to drink, the strike is instantaneous. Not a lunge from across a distance, a snap from point-blank range, followed by coils that tighten with every breath the prey takes, not crushing the bones, preventing inhalation. Each exhale tightens the grip until the body stills. The anaconda feeds only a few times a year. It has enough patience to outlast the seasons, the flood cycles, the rise and fall of the river. It has been here longer than the civilizations that rose and fell around it. It will be here long after the next ones rise. Here is something the history books got completely wrong. For centuries, explorers who ventured into the Amazon returned with the same report. This forest is too hostile for large-scale human civilization. The soil is too poor. The insects too relentless. The flooding too unpredictable. They were wrong. Spectacularly, completely wrong. Thanks to a technology called LiDAR, laser imaging that can see through forest canopy, we now know that the Amazon once contained some of the largest and most sophisticated urban networks in the ancient world. Here is the central truth of the Amazon. To be seen is to be in danger. Every creature here has been shaped by millions of years of pressure into one of two strategies: be the thing that sees or be the thing that cannot be found. The glass frog has chosen the most radical solution to visibility that evolution has ever produced. It made itself transparent, not just pale, not just camouflaged, transparent. Light passes through its skin. Its organs, liver, stomach, beating heart, are visible from outside. And when it presses itself against the underside of a leaf, light passes through its body and continues through the leaf, leaving almost no shadow for a predator to detect. Recently, scientists discovered something even more extraordinary. At rest, the glass frog can redirect its red blood cells into its liver, essentially hiding its circulatory system, making it up to 61% more transparent than when it's active. It can become, on demand, nearly invisible, a living creature that has mastered the physics of light. The leaf insect takes mimicry to a level that feels almost deliberate. Not just the color of a leaf, not just the shape. Every vein, every imperfection, every small bite mark along the edge, the kind left by another insect weeks ago, is reproduced on its body with precision that seems almost artistic. When wind moves through the forest, It sways in perfect synchrony with the real leaves around it. Birds land on branches within inches of it. They look directly at it, and they see nothing. It lives in plain sight. It has nowhere to hide, because it has made itself into a hiding place. The Amazon will teach you that intelligence is not a solo achievement. The most successful species here did not succeed because one individual was extraordinary. They succeeded because they figured out how to rely on each other. Marmosets, small, sociable primates, operate on a family model that looks, in some ways, remarkably human. A dominant breeding pair at the center, but every other family member shares the labor of raising the twins. Fathers carry the infants across dangerous leaps. Older siblings forage and bring food back. When an individual finds something good to eat, it calls the others before eating itself. That is the choice the marmoset makes. Share the discovery, even at personal cost, because the bond it reinforces is worth more than the meal. Spider monkeys operate on a larger scale, building what primatologists call fission-fusion societies. Groups that split apart in the morning based on who needs to go where, then reunite at day's end. The group is always aware of each other's location, always calling, always listening. These animals, without thumbs, navigate a three-dimensional world with a grace that gymnasts spend lifetimes training to imitate. The Amazon selects not just for strength or speed, it selects for relationship, for memory, for the ability to know your neighbors, trust your family, and communicate clearly enough to survive together. When the sun drops below the canopy, the Amazon does not sleep. It changes shift. The day's hunters retreat. The night's hunters wake. The spectacled owl's wings have evolved feather edges that produce no turbulence as it flies, no sound, no warning. A predator, the size of a large cat moving through darkness in absolute silence. It does not hunt by sight in the darkness. It hunts by sound alone. The asymmetrical placement of its ears allows it to triangulate a noise with millimeter precision, detecting a mouse moving through leaf litter from 50 meters away. It strikes before the prey knows anything has moved. And then there is the margay, the cat that should not exist. About the size of a domestic cat, it lives entirely in the trees. Its ankles can rotate 180 degrees, allowing it to descend tree trunks head first, something no other cat on Earth can do. It can hang from a single hind leg while adjusting its balance with a tail that acts like a fifth limb. It hunts birds, rodents, and small primates in three-dimensional space, leaping between branches with the confidence of an animal that has never once worried about falling. But its most extraordinary trick is this: the margay has been observed mimicking the distress cries of infant monkeys to draw adult monkeys within reach. It is not just a predator. It is a predator that understands deception, that understands how to exploit the emotional responses of its prey. A cat that thinks like a strategist. There is a story that the Amazon tells in every flower. It is not a story about competition. It is a story about partnership. The heliconia flower's tube curves in precisely the angle required by one specific hummingbird species. The bird's bill curves to match. Over millions of years, they evolved toward each other, each generation of flower selecting for the bird whose bill fit best, each generation of bird selecting for the flower whose nectar was richest. They have been shaping each other for so long that neither can survive without the other. The hummingbird needs the sugar. The flower needs the pollination. It is a transaction that has been running without interruption for millions of years. The Amazon's most beautiful moments are not accidents, they are contracts. Everything we have shown you in this video, every creature, every system, every ancient partnership between flower and wing, between ant and fungus, between river and rain, is at risk. Not in some abstract future. Right now. Since 1970, the Amazon has lost nearly 20% of its total area to deforestation. In terms of scale, that is an area larger than France. Every minute, not every day, every minute, an area of Amazon forest roughly equivalent to a football field is cleared. The chainsaws run day and night. Fires are set deliberately, burning what took centuries to grow in hours. Poachers move through the shadows, extracting species that cannot be replaced. Here is what happens to the soil when the forest goes. The Amazon soil is not rich agricultural land waiting to be farmed. It is thin, ancient, and almost entirely dependent on the forest above it for its nutrients. Remove the forest and the rain, which once fell gently through the canopy, now hits bare earth directly, washing away topsoil in weeks. Within a few years, the cleared land is barren. The farmers move on and clear more forest, and the flying rivers stop. The moisture that once rose from the canopy and traveled thousands of miles to water the farms of southern Brazil, the cities of Argentina, the grasslands of Paraguay, it does not form without the trees that evaporated. Lose the Amazon, and the rainfall patterns of an entire continent change. Lose the Amazon, and global temperature regulation is disrupted. Lose the Amazon, and billions of tons of stored carbon, locked away inside wood and root and soil for centuries, are released into the atmosphere in a single generation. We are not talking about saving something far away and disconnected from your life. We are talking about the mechanism that produces your oxygen, the system that regulates your weather, the archive of biological solutions, cures for diseases, materials, agricultural techniques that has been running for 50 million years. We are talking about losing the library before we've even read the books. We began this journey with a question, not a question that was spoken, a question that the forest itself was asking. The question of whether the most complex, most ancient, most productive biological system on Earth would survive contact with the most powerful force it has ever faced. Not lightning, not drought, not any of the 5 mass extinctions it has already survived. Us. You've spent the last hour inside the Amazon. You have watched the Jaguar move in silence through a flooded bank. You have seen the glass frog render itself invisible. You have understood for the first time that the Amazon is not a collection of interesting animals. It is a system, an intelligence, an entity that has been refining its own solutions to the problem of life for longer than our species has existed. Every vein of the leaf, every curve of the flower, every relationship between predator and prey, between root and river, between rain and cloud and rain again, none of it is accidental. None of it is random. It is the result of 50 million years of iteration, of trial and error on a scale we cannot imagine, of failure and adaptation and selection pressure applied relentlessly, generation after generation, until what remains is as close to perfect as life can get. And it is still here, breathing, producing the oxygen in your lungs right now as you watch this. The Amazon does not need our wonder. It does not need our admiration, but it may need our attention. Because the things we pay attention to, the things we actually see and understand and love, those are the things we fight to keep. And now you have seen it. If this video changed the way you see this world, even slightly, share it. Send it to someone. Let it start a conversation. Because the most powerful thing we can do for the Amazon right now is exactly what you just did. Pay attention. If you made it this far, thank you, genuinely. Not many people will sit with a forest for an hour. You did. And that matters. Hit subscribe if you want to keep going deeper into the world's most extraordinary places. Every video we make is built the same way, with the same care, the same research, the same belief that the natural world deserves to be understood, not just seen. The next one is already waiting for you.